As Shirley mentioned, my name's Kimberley Howlett. I work for Tennis Australia in a full-time capacity, and so I look after the Australian Open, the Australian Open Series events, and some of our Tennis Australia all-year-round recruitment, and that also includes our internship programs as well, which I'll speak to you really briefly about. In terms of why you're here today is hoping to obviously look at the vacancies for 2015. We'll show you what we do. We'll show you our staff highlights video from last year, and we'll also talk to you a little bit about the roles that we have vacant at the moment. It's not just about our full-time staff, it's also very much about our casual staff, because at the end of the day, they're the face of the company, and we obviously run the event operationally as well. We might flick through to the next slide. This is our staff highlights video. This will give you a really big caption of what we do, some of the roles, and then we'll actually go through the roles in a little bit more detail as well. Very good. How was that? Pretty good?
Yes, very good, yes.
What about that video, to tell you a little bit about the Australian Open? We have 42 different areas that you could potentially work at. Included in there is our on-court and our off-court services, and then things like our information services, our hospitality areas, our information services as well. There's a really big range of roles. So depending on your skill set, it will take some time to obviously go through the application process and really think about what areas actually meant for you. We do advise all of our staff, because we've got such a very big area in terms of the selections of preferences, it's best to really think about the skill set that you've actually had in the past and be able to relate them into working at the Australian Open. So if you've had more of a customer service background, then things like retail and our information services team are going to be worth more to you. And in the shortlisting phase, myself and John and the rest of our team have been doing a lot of shortlisting. Our applications went live on the 1st of June, and we've already received just about 2,000 applications. So we've only got another 12 days to go, but we're assuming that it will go up to around the 4,000 mark. So if you think about that, there are a team of, I think there's about 8 of us that are looking at those applications. It's a very big job for us, so it's really good that if we see a candidate that's actually put down the correct preferences, it's a lot easier for us to choose in terms of, yes, will they go through? No, they shouldn't go through because they've picked the wrong skill set that they don't actually have. Does anyone have any specific questions? No? Yeah.
Have the Ball Kids applications closed now?
Yeah. So the Ball Kids recruitment happens during January and February of the year before the actual next tournament. So it's well and truly closed. They've just actually been selected. So we've got some very excited Ball Kids, but also on the other hand, some very disappointed kids. Yeah.
What exactly does the media role involve? Just as I'm looking at media communication.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good experience for them.
Yeah, great, and that's a great question. So the media team really looks after our journalists in-house and the media, anything to deal with the media. It's more of like a customer service orientated role, and it's a really big media hub, but you're just really facilitating what the actual media needs. So it might be, depending on the role that you go for, there's things like player liaison, so organising the players to go from one place to another interview place, for example, if they've got a press conference. Other times it might be just helping the media team with general inquiries, things like article staff, if they have to get the newspapers, making sure that they have everything that they need. Yep, so all of our positions are open until the 30th of June.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you have a role for tech support?
IT,
Yes.
do you mean? Yeah. With our IT applications, we actually do that a little bit different. So our IT process is that they have to do a placement with us for at least 3 weeks, so it's a 3-week placement. Then from there, during the Australian Open, we obviously train you in that 3 weeks. During the Australian Open, you actually get paid, but it's a volunteer placement, which goes towards your credits. Any other questions? Surely there's a couple more. So you've heard me talk a little bit about the roles, and you've obviously seen the video. This is what we can offer you. In terms of what happens from here is applications are open until the 30th of June. We don't accept any late applications due to the high volume of applications we receive. In terms of the volume though, we receive about 4,000 applications for each Australian Open, so it's really important that you do meet that deadline. If not, then we can't consider you until the following year. So what happens after you apply online is you'll get shortlisted, so that's what we're currently working through at the moment. After you have been shortlisted, you will be notified 3 things. You'll either be notified if you're still under consideration. That means that you might have an assessment centre. The areas that you've chosen might be in October or September, for example, which obviously we look at the ones that are the assessment centres that are closer to where we are now. So we've got assessment centres all the way from July all the way to October. And so we'll shortlist the July and August ones now, and we'll keep working towards the other ones as we go. After you've been under consideration, what happens is you either get invited to an assessment centre, or you're considered for your second preference, or you're unsuccessful as well. So when you're invited to an assessment centre, that's actually held at Melbourne Park. We do all of our assessment centres there. And it's more or less, you come in, depending on the size of the assessment centre, depending on the area you choose, there'll be around about 50 people in your assessment centre with you. We do group interviews, we do activities, we do different scenarios. We obviously tell you a little bit more about each area and the requirements in a lot more detail. And then we go through, after your assessment centre, then we'll let you know if you're on a wait list, which means you're not unsuccessful. It means that all of our positions have been filled, but we still keep you on that wait list just in case people withdraw from the area, so we can move people up. You're either successful straight away or you're unsuccessful as well. Any questions regarding that? Any other? Yeah.
Can we apply for like 2-3 roles if we find suitable for like 2-3 roles? Can we apply for all these roles?
Yeah, definitely. So on the application process, it actually gives you a preference number 1 or preference number 2. So you actually get to select the area that you would like to work in, not just the role, but the area, so then we can move you if we need to. And then you go from your first preference to your second preference. If we think that your skill set's useful in another area, then we will do what's called recommended to another area. We'll let you know what area we think you're best in, and then you will have the chance to let us know if you're interested in that area or not at all. So what we expect, obviously we're an event, we work long hours, late nights, early mornings, so we expect some flexibility in regards to that. We also, during the actual employment period, need your full availability. It's really important. All year round we have about 2,500 AO staff members that participate. So what that means is it's really hard doing rosters if someone doesn't have that full availability. And in terms of the assessment centre, if you don't have that availability, we won't be able to consider you. So it's really important. You have to complete, this is some of the official staff, but you have to complete an online induction. You also have to attend the staff launch, which I spoke about earlier. And depending on the area, you may require extra training. So I know our retail staff will be required to do a day of training. And then there's other areas like the information technology, so the IT team, they have 3 weeks of training. And there's, depending on the role, it does vary. Also on that, I should say, in terms of our returning staff members, so if you are successful moving forward and you've done a really good job in 2015, what actually happens is we invite you back for the next year. So we've got staff members that have worked with us. David, who's actually a driver, is 85 this year, and he's worked with us for 43 years. So, yeah. So there's a really good opportunity of coming back each year. It's just the first year that we take a little bit longer in the process. Saying that though, if you don't if you aren't successful this year, keep reapplying for next year, because we only have about 200 spots to fill this year, and we've already received about 2,000 applications. So it's going to be hard for us to choose. So that's really important in terms of making sure that your CV is attractive. Like how many CVs do we get, John? That there's grammar mistakes, there's spelling mistakes. People don't even attach their CV into our system. There's no cover letters. So it's all those simple things that you think are really basic that are appeal to us, because if we get a resume that isn't listed in terms of your previous skill set or your previous roles, then we won't be able to consider you. We just put you straight into the unsuccessful pile, which seems harsh, but reality is we're dealing with so many resumes that we don't actually have time to keep going back to all of those applicants to say you haven't attached your CV or you've got a spelling mistake here, consider it. Because it's not just us in the HR team that look at these resumes. What we do is after we've shortlisted, we forward them on to our area managers. They shortlist again. Some of those area managers are very harsh when it comes to spelling and grammar, etc. Because if you're in a role, say for example in the player services dealing with players, and you have to write stuff out or type stuff up, players might ask for different letters of some sort, you have to be able to have accuracy on that.
Sorry, Kim. Also to add, if you want like a competitive advantage against other candidates, especially in like media, as you were saying, in areas like that, your resume's got to almost match what you're applying for. Like, I've seen some resumes that just absolutely blow me away. Like, the information is almost, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't look at it, but just the format of the resume is just like I've never seen it. Like, straight away, it's like that person knows what they're doing. I'll look at this person highly over someone that's just done a bland resume if they're in media. Almost like human resources, if you've got spelling mistakes and you're applying for human resources or something where you say attention to detail, and then in your resume you've got spelling mistakes all over the place, kind of lacks your integrity with what you're saying. So yeah, sorry about that.
Good point. Any other questions? Very good. So apart from our Australian Open opportunities, we have quite a variety of internship programs that we look after. I know I alluded to before our IT placements that we currently have. We do things like the media. We've got a PR internship that's actually just closed as of last week, but there's always ongoing roles and opportunities that Tennis Australia provide. And actually John's one of our interns that's been absolutely fantastic and a bit of a lifesaver for us in our HR team this year. Definitely kept me in line on a couple of things if I haven't met deadlines. Do you want to speak a little bit about the role and the opportunities that TAs...
So if you haven't seen me around campus, I'm a third year student at Swinburne University. Our internship program and the placements will not only give you that experience, but when you're applying for other companies, you'll really have that edge, and you'll get interviews, and we give a really good reference. So I suggest you apply straight away, and everyone that such as you're doing IT, you're more than welcome to give us your email, and we'll keep in contact. Thank you.
In terms of what John's doing as well, we've actually got 2 interns, well actually 3 interns in HR at the moment, and this year John and Darcy and Ha are actually running our assessment centres. So we're just going to be observing it, but these guys are going to be running it.
I'll be running transport, IT and hospitality, so give me a hoy at the end if you
How does all that sound? Pretty good?
Yeah.
Any other questions? That's it. I think that's it, guys. I'll give you one of these cards on the way out. Basically, it just talks about our general applications, the dates. Oh, yeah. This is some of just the benefits that we give our staff. So you get paid an hourly rate depending on the role. If it's positions like our cardio team and our hot shots team, tennis zone, we've just renamed it. That's our junior, you know how you've got those at the Australian Open, we've probably got photos of it. Those positions are actually volunteer roles. What that means is most people, if you've got younger siblings or daughters that you're here for today, that's a really good start. Or if you even just want your foot in the door at Tennis Australia, because of our number of roles are really limited, this area is a really good start on. If you volunteer for a year, really give it a good crack, and then the next year at least you've got a foot in the door to be able to apply for a a paid Australian open role. We also give you, because we know that you guys all work hard, and yes, we are an event, and yes, the food can be expensive. We give you a meal allowance to spend at our staff cafe. That $19, if it's a volunteer role, then you get a little bit more. But what that means is it covers kind of your breakfast and lunch, or a couple of snacks in your lunch or dinner. That's just a bit of a thank you that we give our staff, and that's per day. Also with your accreditation pass, that gives you access to trams for free. You get a uniform, Lacoste uniform. Love our sponsors, so they have actually done a really good job of this year's uniform, and as you've seen by all the videos, it's nice and bright, and you get to keep that obviously. You get car parking for $10 a day, it's a little bit cheaper, and you also get some ground passes for your friends and family. Those ground passes are for your friends and family because your accreditation pass actually gives you access on site if you do have a day off to come in and watch the tennis on the ground areas, not access to Rod Laver, Hisense or Margaret Court, but at least it gives you that access. This year it will give you access to Hisense Arena because we're going through a bit of a change. I should mention as well, Tennis Australia also have, during the Australian Open, we've got other companies on site that are looking for staff, so it's not just us. We've also got Delaware North, who do all the food and beverage and the catering at the Australian Open and all year round. So it's worth jumping on their website and seeing what opportunities they have. And also Melbourne Olympic Parks look after the venues. So there's how you've got around the grounds, that's Tennis Australia staff, but in the actual venues like Rod Laver and Hisense and Margaret Court Arena, the staff in there are actually Melbourne Olympic Parks, so they're the patron services staff, so they also have opportunities, and I think both of those companies will start their recruitment drive in the next couple of weeks as well. Very good. Excellent. Thanks so much for coming, guys. If you do have any questions, feel free to stick back and we can help you out.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
This has been a Swinburne production.